What's up, YouTube? It's JackalGoldKick. So this is kind of uncommon area for me to film in, but let's do it. Let's change it up. So this is going to be a collaboration video with me and the Flamehead97. We're going to be talking about our memories from the 2000s, the year of the 2000s. Some of our memories, because at least I'm not going to be able to remember. I'm not going to be able to remember every single one, but yeah, we're going to talk about some of our memories from the 2000s. The 2000s is a decade and a year time period that I do like. I grew up in it since I was born in 1999. I do like the time period. I do like the decade. I think it's cool. I think it has good entertainment. And yeah, so some of my memories from the 2000s. One in particular was, I remember I had a CD player in the 2000s that I used. I had a CD player that I would use, and I would listen to music on it. I had like these headphones, and I had these CDs. I would either listen to some of the bought CDs from the 2000s, like, you know, Dr. Dre, The Chronic, or Eminem Relapse album, or like the Ludacris Word of Mouth album, some burned CDs of specific songs, like Busta Rhymes' Break Your Neck. That was also a song on the CD player on one of the burnt CDs, because there was a computer at my grandmother's house, and I would burn songs on the CDs, because that was back, like, even in the 2000s I didn't have internet, never had internet, didn't even get internet to the 2010s. So my grandmother, I think, had somewhat of an access to the internet at least, and I'd burn CDs on her computer and like put, you know, songs on there. You can always put a random amount of songs, and I remember some of the songs were Busta Rhymes' Break Your Neck, you know, Ludacris, We're All Your Business, some Eminem stuff, some of the songs P. Pablo did. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I'm sure some 50 Cent stuff, you know, just 2000s type rap, some stuff from the 90s, Tupac type stuff, I think, as well. An Akon and T-Pain song, Who Is That, or Who the Fuck Is That, or something. That's another one. It's like I just remembered some other music, but I can't remember it now. Fuck. But just like, you know, I had some music on burnt CDs, and I had like an Eshon CD, and I listened to that in the CD player with headphones. I also had an iPod that I would listen to music on too. I had like Busta Rhymes' Break Your Neck on there, and other stuff that I can't fully remember. And that was like my way of, you know, listening to music, because I didn't have a phone back in the 2000s. Like I said, didn't have internet. And then some other memories I can remember from the 2000s is, of course, when it comes to like gaming type stuff. Video games were so good in the 2000s. Easily the best, in my opinion, decade of video games. So nostalgic for it. The PlayStation 2, you know, playing that in the 2000s. The amazing games like Resident Evil 4 that blew my mind. Games like the Warriors, you know, the Dynasty Warriors games. Warriors Orochi. You know, Xbox 360, that's another great console that came out in the 2000s. That's my favorite video game console of all time. And I really like that system. You know, Gears of War, Fallout 3, Dead Rising 1. So many great games came out in the 2000s. You know, great consoles like the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 2. So, you know, gaming was great. The music stuff was great. I even got to experience VHS tapes. I got to experience VHS. I had a VHS player. I had VHS tapes of like a Scooby-Doo movie, I think Tom and Jerry, and then some other stuff. I even was around cassette tapes. There was a cassette player in some of the vehicles, so I was around those. Some of the cartoons I watched from the 2000s were like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Scooby-Doo. There was this one cartoon I watched where it was like a dog and an old man with flight caps. That was another one too. That was a good one. I seen bits and pieces of Pokemon. That seemed good, but I never fully watched it. I'm trying to remember some other cartoons I watched in the 2000s. Oh yeah, Camp Lazlo was one that was good. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. And some other ones I probably can't think of. There was also like regular TV shows too, like iCarly was a big one. That was one of my favorite TV shows as a kid, and one of the things I liked watching a lot in the 2000s was the iCarly TV show. I enjoyed that one a lot. Favorite character was Sam in that show, so that was a good show. I also remember watching, I think it was 16 or 17, or I'm 16 again, or some shit like that. That was pretty good too. So yeah, I'm trying to think of some other memories from the 2000s. You know, hanging out with certain friends, you know, playing split screen of like Warriors games, playing split screen of Gears of War games, and some other memories I can think of for the 2000s. I mean, I had more opportunities and moments of hanging out with friends, and I had some friends that I was really cool with that, you know, I don't have a lot of those friends anymore. You know, one of them changed for the worse, and then the other one I dissed in the Mr. Beef video. But back in the 2000s, when they were actually good fucking people, and we were good friends, we had a lot of cool memories together, you know, the split screen games we played. And then there's also movies as well. The movie scene was pretty good in the 2000s. I mean, you had, I've seen a lot of good movies in the 2000s, you know, like, well, I'm trying to remember, like, okay, I'm trying to remember, well, I feel like music and video games I was more in tune with than movies. Like, I did watch movies in the 2000s, but it's just, I'm trying to remember the best I can, but maybe movies wasn't as something I messed with as much as the others when it comes to the 2000s. So, but like with movies, I do remember watching 28 Days Later. That was a good zombie film in the 2000s. I remember having that for the PSP. Hopefully I'm not messing up, because that could be a 2010s memory, but I'm pretty sure that was before the 2010s. I don't know though, I could be wrong. I remember watching Walking Tall. Got it somehow from someone. Walking Tall is a good movie. That was a good movie. Saw in the 2000s. Dawn of the Dead remake, Shaun of the Dead. That was a good film. And I also remember living at one house where, you know, growing up, I had Eminem played around me. The Marshall Mathers LP, the Slim Shady LP. I definitely remember that. I also remember, you know, other people in my life that are no longer here. Like, I had a cousin named Chris, rest in peace to him. He's been dead for a while now. It was something drug related, but he was a good dude. I remember him when I was younger in the 2000s. He was cool. Definitely better than my piece of crap father, that's for sure, as a person. One memory of him that I always liked was the fact that his favorite song was always Never Scared by Bone Crusher. That was always his favorite song, and he would play that song a lot. And you know, I've always loved that song, but what makes that song really special and sentimental is the fact that, you know, when I think of that song, I think of him, because that was his favorite song. So that's something else I remember in the 2000s. You know, I had, you know, good mom in the 2000s, you know, good grandmother, grandpa. Terrible father though, that's for sure. But you know, I had some good friends. There was good entertainment, you know, good music, good video games. School, for the most part, could go fuck itself when it comes to the 2000s. I mean, who really likes school? Bullying, waking up early, like, fuck school. I don't know much to say about that in terms of the 2000s, but I also remember, just like, you know, when I did go to school, I remember, you know, waking up in the morning, you know, watching cartoons as a kid in the 2000s. And, you know, my grandmother made a lot of great breakfasts. It was, you know, she always make like these bacon, you know, BLTs, and I'd always have bacon sandwiches, folded bread with mayonnaise. It would always be like 3 of them. I'd have them individually. You know, another thing I remember doing that was fun in the 2000s, from my memories, is I also remember, you know, playing outside with friends. Like, whether it was that Nick dude when we were cool, or Eric, or, you know, it was mostly Nick I remember doing this with. We would play like pretend war, or pretend we're in Resident Evil or stuff like that, with like toy guns and stuff like that. Just fun times, you know, things like that. And I'm trying to remember some other 2000s memories. You know, there was just a lot of good stuff in the 2000s, you know, and good cartoons, good music, good video games, great consoles. And, you know, if I had to compare the time periods I grew up in, I honestly wish I could go back to that period. Like, I don't mind the 2010s, but one of the things I liked about the 2000s is I feel like the 2000s was really the last of a real world experience, if I'm trying to make sense with that. Like, what I mean basically is I feel like in the 2010s, and especially now, technology and social media and internet has gotten more and more advanced, and I feel like us as human beings, we are forgetting how to be human beings, and we're becoming more connected to this digital internet, social media, you know, online world, even including me. And I feel like, you know, I became a huge part of that. And, you know, of course, the horrible porn addiction I have that I've been trying to get rid of in the 2010s, and it really messed me up as a person. You know, it changed me to where now, as I'm trying to, you know, change my life and get rid of the porn addiction and stuff, this is, you know, from the porn addiction, but like the internet and social media and living on that, but especially the porn addiction, it's like, you know, socializing or trying to be out in public, or, you know, like, for example, just a few days ago, I went to the store with my mom, a clothes store. There was a ton of people in it, and I felt so anxious. I was so uncomfortable. And that just shows how much damage that internet and social media and things like that have done to us. It just shows someone's driving in. But yeah, it just shows how much damage a lot of things have done, honestly. It really does. I don't even know if people can see me. It looks dark as shit. Let me get back on the road. But yeah, you know, that's one of the things I liked about the 2000s, man, is I like the fact that it, you know, it felt like I got to experience the real world. Like, yeah, I was indulging in entertainment, you know, watching cartoons, playing video games, listening to music, but I still was able to experience the real world. You know, I had friends, even though looking back, I didn't care for school. At least there was that. And, you know, I felt like I got to have the real world experience. You know, it still felt like the world was where you could just, I don't know, everything just felt more simple. And that's one thing I missed from the 2000s, man. It's just the aspect of hanging out with friends, and I just miss the 2000s in that aspect as well. You know, I feel like the world, and, you know, how I've been growing up now in 2010s, especially the 2020s, I feel like everything's been like really contaminated and fucked up a lot by internet and social media. I mean, there's some good things about the internet and social media, and YouTube and a lot of this stuff, don't get me wrong, but I really hate what it's done to the world. You know, it's messed it up. You know, it's like I said, a lot of us, we've started to live on the internet, and, you know, like, I don't know, I just feel like when I go out and about and walk, I mean, I see people outside, but I know damn well I'd probably see way more people out here if this is the 2000s or if it was before. Hell, even the music group I like, BOTDF, they did a song called Anti-Social Media, and I like that song and the message of it, because they basically said the internet ruined our lives. You know, they feel like people, you know, the internet was supposed to bring us closer, but it's pretty much done the opposite. Instead of bringing us closer, it separated us even further, you know, and made everything worse. You know, relationships, friendships, hanging out with people, doing meetups, you know, just all the real world type stuff that I was talking about from the 2000s. It's just, something about it just feels different now, and it's changed, you know. So that's something from the 2000s. So I think that's all I really have to say in this video. I just wanted to talk about the 2000s, some of my memories, and just talk about it overall. Yeah, that's really all I got to say in my parts. Overall, I like the 2000s. I mean, I know it had some bad stuff in it, like 9/11, which was horrible. And, you know, I heard there was something bad financially that happened in 08. But, you know, I was younger. I was a kid, so I don't think I was as privy to that stuff. But I do miss the 2000s, man, because it just, I feel like I had it made in the 2000s, man. It was golden. It was golden. I could enjoy my entertainment, but I could also enjoy the real world, and I wasn't fucked up or destroyed or contaminated or had my humanity destroyed, compared to 2010s and the 2020s, where internet and social media and living on that and living in isolation and a complacent lifestyle for years and years, and certain friends changing around me that used to be cool, and you know, the porn addiction, it fucked me up a lot as a person. It destroyed my humanity. And now I got to try to learn and get more used to being around people again and being outside more. And that's a sad reality, because that should be something that we're natural at. That's not even an issue for. But just things have changed, man. I miss the 2000s. You know, I just feel like a lot of things were better, entertainment especially. There was some good stuff in the 2010s, but the golden age of 2000s, man, just so much stuff, so many great memories, so much good stuff. But yeah, that's all I got to say in my part in this video of our 2000s memories. Just wanted to talk about the 2000s. It was an idea I had, and figured I'd bring the Flamehead97 on this collab video. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Hopefully my part was good. I kind of a little bit self-conscious about it, because I tried doing this video earlier, but wasn't really coming together the right way. But hopefully this was good to go. So that's all I got to say. So some things I forgot to mention in my part for this our 2000s memories, or whatever I decided to call this video I forgot to mention, is that I feel like I didn't go in depth enough about the music side of things. You know, music I feel like was really good in the 2000s. I liked a lot of the music in the 2000s. You know, the Eminem Show, 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying, Ludacris, Word of Mouth, Timbaland, Shock Value 1, you know, G Unit, DMX. You know, I like Dreams by The Game. You know, I liked a lot of the music in the 2000s. You know, Busta Rhymes, Break Your Neck. I listened to the Genesis album by Busta Rhymes like crazy in the 2000s growing up. I also feel like mainstream rap was better in the 2000s, because at least there was still a decent amount of good rappers and people that stood out and people that were talented. And you know, there's a lot of good music. Eminem was dropping good stuff in the 2000s. Like I said, like the Eminem Show, Busta Rhymes. I like listening to his Genesis album. I even like some, you know, certain songs by certain artists. Like I did like Poker Face by Lady Gaga in the 2000s. I always thought that was a good song, very catchy, really good song in the 2000s. I was also super into, and I was crazy about this song, the song Stronger by Kanye West. Remember as a kid in the 2000s, when I heard that, I was super into it, obsessed with that song, listened to it all the time. So like, I did have knowledge about albums, and you know, I'm talking about certain albums, and knew about albums, but you know, some of the music I was listening to in the 2000s was just like, you know, hit songs, most known songs by artists and stuff like that. But the music side of things was great, you know, because you had Eminem dropping great stuff, you had 50 Cent dropping great stuff, you had G Unit and the members of G Unit, you know, songs like So Seductive, and you had The Game with Dreams, which is always one of my favorite songs. You had, you know, SPM, they were good. I had their music played around me, they were really good. Like I said, Shock Value by Timbaland, I liked a lot of stuff in that album, like what was it, the Time is my favorite song off that album. Really great song. Other good songs like Come and Get Me with 50 and Yayo, Tony Yayo's best verse of all time on that song. I didn't listen to a lot of other genres, I will be honest. I was mostly just like a rap person in the 2000s. I think there was only like maybe a few songs I liked in the 2000s that were other genres, but I can't fully remember them. Like I liked the song, I don't know who made it, but the What's New Pussycat song I liked, but when I was a kid I didn't know what it actually meant. I thought it was just about a kitty cat, not a woman. You know, as a kid, certain songs you don't know what the hell the meaning is. And then maybe there's like some, I don't know, I don't have much memory or knowledge of other genres, mostly just rap shit, but I had all genres of music played around me in the 2000s growing up, but rap is what really stuck to me the most. And I liked a lot of the music in the 2000s, especially rap. You know, rap was I feel like really good in the 2000s. Even Snoop Dogg had some dope shit in the 2000s, like the song Vato, you know, Ups and Downs. That's a great song. You know, trying to think of some other stuff about the 2000s I could say. You know, T.I. had some good songs in the 2000s, like No Matter What, Rubber Band Man, you know, what was it, Whatever You Like. Justin Timberlake, he was a great artist. He had a lot of great songs. And the 2000s that I did listen to was played around me. I liked like Chop Me Up and What Goes Around Comes Back Around, and I think it's called Summer something with T.I. You know, Dead and Gone's a good one. You know, just had a lot of good music, rap, and maybe sometimes other genres played around me in the 2000s. I'm trying to think of some so I can mention them, but having a hard time doing so. I really am. I mean, I think it was, yeah, Rob Zombie was playing around growing up, but like I said, wasn't that well versed in other genres back in the 2000s. But, and then like the video games, you know, like I said, you had Resident Evil 4, GTA San Andreas, Dead Rising, the Gears of War 1 and 2, Fallout 3, Oblivion, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Warriors Orochi. You had, what else did you have in the 2000s? Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. Just amazing video games that I loved, that I enjoyed playing so much in the 2000s and enjoyed the hell out of. Loved those games. They were great games. You know, in the 2000s, they introduced me to so many great game series. You know, Dead Rising, Gears of War, you know, just, I also remember with my Xbox 360, I remember using that as a music player, because you could burn CDs in your Xbox 360 and you could have like a digital music library. So I had tons and tons of songs and tons of music on the Xbox 360. So I'd also use that to like listen to music on, which was really cool. So, and then maybe some other movies I could mention. There was like the Saw films. I like the Saw films in the 2000s. I like Saw 1. I did like a lot of the Saw movies. I remember watching those in the 2000s. You know, I was a big fan of Garfield. I also remember, you know, Halloween as a kid was a lot of fun. Halloween was great as a kid. I can't fully remember who I went as though. I remember one, but it's from the 2010s, so it doesn't count. Hold on, I'm gonna have to cross this road real quick because there's people driving. But what else was I gonna say besides Halloween? You know, Christmas was good because you get tons of gifts. Christmas is great, you know, tons of gifts you get. Birthdays are great because of birthday cakes and, you know, getting gifts and that kind of stuff. You know, had some good dogs, good pets. Let's see, what else was I gonna say? Books, yeah. I read, you know, the only type of books I read in the 2000s was Goosebump books. I read Goosebumps books. The Goosebump books were really good. I remember reading those a lot and liking those. Goosebump books were good. I remember going to the library a few times, like renting something. I think like a Scooby-Doo movie or something. And what else? I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I watched the Tom and Jerry cartoon in the 2000s. That was great. I had a movie where they went to Mars. I had a set of a bunch of episodes. That was something I watched a lot. I had a VHS. I think it was like VHS. I can't quite remember, but I had a Tom and Jerry movie where they went to like some house in Halloween and it was a witch or something. I can't fully remember, but overall, just a lot of great things and times and memories and all kinds of stuff I can remember from the 2000s. And yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit more and talk about a little bit more in this video. Obviously, if I try to go over every little single thing, the video would go on forever. But overall, the 2000s was a good time period. And I just wanted to say a few more things about like the internet world thing. Like, you know, like I said, BOTDF's Anti-Social Media. That's such a good song that, you know, it touches on what I was talking about in this video with the real world kind of being affected, or the real world being affected by internet and social media. that didn't really happen in the 2000s, and how, you know, BOTF's song Anti-Social Media, it's a good song. It talks about, you know, just talking about how the internet's ruined our lives, killed all our motivation, hiding behind filtered fun, not really enjoying a real life, being more about living on the internet and the digital age rather than making memories with people in real life that count. And, you know, one more thing to end this off is when you interact with a real person, when you're interacting with real people, when you talk to a real person, it feels natural, it feels good, you know? It's not the same when you're interacting with someone online. I mean, I enjoy talking to people online, but it just doesn't compare, you know? Like, this digital internet stuff, it just can't replicate the feeling or what truly is factually, objectively what we're supposed to be, which is like socializing with each other and talking to each other, rather than, you know, the internet age and all the stuff I was talking about. And like I said, when you talk to a person, it actually, you know, it feels good, it feels real. Not the same when you talk online. But yeah, I just wanted to add some more to my part. But that's really all I gotta say in this collaboration video about our memories from the 2000s. I was born in 1999. I really am nostalgic about that time period. So yeah, I just had to add this. So I'll mention a few more things in this video. Some other stuff about the 2000s. You had another artist I remember is Akon. Akon was great in the 2000s. You know, Locked Up, especially the remix with Styles P. You had his song Ghetto, which I really liked. You had, you know, the song with Eminem, Smack That. So you had Akon, he was really good in the 2000s. Wrestling was good in the 2000s. I remember watching it, you know, growing up around it, and, you know, being involved with it in the 2000s as well. So just a few more things I wanted to add to this video about our memories of the 2000s, me and the Flamehead97. Just a few more things I wanted to mention. I apologize for adding parts. I have OCD, and I don't know what it is, but recently, not only with the last video, but with this video, it's like I forget. It's like I record the video and then I forget about a bunch of things I could have mentioned. You know, this doesn't usually happen to me with videos, so this is very frustrating. But a few more things I wanted to say in this collab about 2000s memories is I also remember, you know, Def Jam Fight for New York, Def Jam Vendetta. Those were great games as well, and the PS2, loved them as well. They were great. So that was other stuff that was good about the 2000s. So that's the last to mention in my part for this video with me and the Flamehead97 about our memories of the 2000s. Basically us just reflecting on the 2000s and talking about it and stuff like that. Like I said, we could probably go over the entire decade and talk about everything, but it would take forever. Like, I'd probably be, I don't know, it would take forever to go over every single thing. Some other stuff I want to add to this video that I can remember from the 2000s is I remember, you know, getting fast food a lot, like, you know, McDonald's, Dairy Queen. I used to get it was like chocolate with sprinkles and nuts and vanilla. I used to get that a lot at Dairy Queen in the 2000s. You know, Bill's Hot Dogs, Roy's Burgers. I think I had them in the 2000s, or that could be a 2010s thing. You know, but I would get McDonald's a lot, especially through like family and my grandmother, and I would always get like the Happy Meal. That's what I would always get. So there was some good, you know, food stuff, like fast food type stuff in the 2000s and 2000 memories. So just some more stuff I wanted to add. I hope this isn't a continuing trend with every video I make now, where I have to keep adding part on part on part. Because I don't like doing it, but could be the OCD. But that's really legit all I have to say in my part for this collab video about me and the Flamehead97's memory about the 2000s. That's all I gotta say for my part. Now you're gonna see the Flamehead97 with his part. Peace.
Yo YouTube, what's up guys? This is the Flamehead97 here, and I'm here for my part of the collab video with JackalGoldKick. And this is gonna be an awesome one, guys. We're gonna go back here in memory lane with this one. We're here to talk about like some of our favorite stuff and memories of the 2000s. This is hella awesome because I grew up in the 2000s, man. From playing music, video games, hanging out with friends. Let's go ahead and talk all this stuff, man. This is fun, man. This is nostalgic, means a lot to me. Always holds special places in my heart. Stuff I did as a kid and all that, and even teenager. But for this video, we're only talking about the 2000s, not like the 2010s, because I had some good times in the 2010s as well. But for this, we're only talking about the 2000s. So it's going to get started. So yeah, one thing I did like about the 2000s growing up was the music, because I grew up on like different kinds of music, especially rap music. That was my go-to genre growing up. I had some CDs from like the rappers like Ludacris, Bow Wow, T.I., probably even 3 6 Mafia. So I had some good rap albums from back in the 2000s as a kid, because my mom would buy me CDs like at a mall or CD stores or wherever CDs were available to be bought at that time, because CDs were my go-to back then. Not so much on buying CDs anymore as an adult, but back then I loved buying CDs. It was awesome. So yeah, listened to some good music growing up, getting it on CD to where you can hear it more often than you would hear it on the radio, because the radio would play some good hip-hop back in the day. But I thought my preference back then was like CDs, because my mom would buy them for me all the time when I was a kid and all that. So that's definitely what great memory for me was, the music I grew up back then and getting the CDs. So it's pretty cool stuff. I was on pop music too back in the 2000s decade, but it's more on the hip-hop side of things. I really didn't get more into pop music until like the late 2000s, probably around 2008, 2009. So when it came to pop music, I was kind of more not into it at first like I was with rap, but later on in 2000, like I'm saying, I got to discover some pop artists like Pink, Natasha Bedingfield, Avril Lavigne, Kelly Clarkson, Katy Perry, Leanna Lewis. So there were some great singers that I got to discover from the 2000s and like the late 2000s, right around 2007, 2008, 2009. That's kind of where I started getting in probably like pop music. So yeah, that's some other good things about the 2000s, was transitioning from one genre and even getting into another. So it's pretty cool gotten to discover two genres in the 2000s, rap music / hip-hop music and pop music. So the music part of growing up in the 2000s, getting them on CD and all that, that was great. So yeah, man, I had some Lady Gaga CD called The Fame back then, which was her debut album, 2008. It's basically kind of how I became a fan of Lady Gaga, growing up to her music in the 2000s, 2008 and 2009, because I had her album on The Fame back then, but like in the late 2010s, like before my grandma died or after she died, I ended up giving the CD to my mom, I think, but I think she ended up losing it because we had to move and stuff when grandma passed. So yeah, man, it was sad when grandma passed because I lost some CDs. But yeah, CDs were my thing in the 2000s. Had The Fame for many years before that even happened, but as an adult I did get to buy the CD again. But as an adult, the CD didn't really mean much to me as it did as a kid, because as a kid music meant more to me than it does now. I mean, I still like music, but it just seems like the memories I have with those songs just don't seem the same anymore. I guess because I grew up and went through a lot as an adult. So sometimes music that you grew up to doesn't really mean much to you now as it did back then, and that's probably because I go through a lot in my adult life, because back then I didn't have any worries or people to be mean to me and stuff. So yeah, I have it hard as an adult, so the music that I grew up to doesn't really hit hard nowadays like it did back then. It's not that I don't like the stuff anymore or the songs or the artists, it's just the stuff doesn't really make me as an emotional nowadays as it did back then. If it's like a sad song or something, it just doesn't really hit me that hard nowadays. Sometimes they do, but not every time like they did back then. So the music stuff I grew up on was good in the 2000s. 3 music genres: rap and hip-hop and pop music. So yeah, another good things about the 2000s were the video games. Like, I got into wrestling. That's pretty much my way of getting into professional wrestling, was playing the video games before I even watched it on TV. It's pretty cool, you know, like not knowing much about wrestling and then having friends that I was friends with back in the day play the wrestling games with me and get me into the wrestling stuff. Like, they had like a TNA Impact video game like back on PS2. You have some good stuff. It's like the only Impact TNA/Impact game that has even been made for that company, which I think it sucks, because I think Impact Wrestling was good. I mean, I think it's better as TNA, but nowadays it's known as Impact Wrestling. It's still good and all, but getting into TNA through that game was pretty cool. And the same goes with WWE and their games in the 2000s. That's how much I didn't know much about wrestling back then. Didn't know much about WWE back in the day, but yet I still got introduced to it through its video games, because people I was friends with, they would like play wrestling games and I would play with them and stuff, and it's just cool. Got to play Mortal Kombat Armageddon, I think that game was called. That was a good one. I think they even had some Resident Evil, but I didn't really know much about Resident Evil back then because I was too young. I was probably only like fucking 11, 12 years old at the time. Almost a teenager when I first probably heard about the Resident Evil, you know. Even the WWE stuff, I was probably a bit younger getting into the WWE stuff than I was the Resident Evil. But I did know about Resident Evil, I just didn't really get to play it much until later on in life when I'm an adult. But yeah, Resident Evil's pretty cool. I mean, I don't play as much as I did like a couple years ago. But yeah, Resident Evil was cool though. I would definitely love to try the Resident Evil 4 remake, because I got to play Resident Evil 2 remake. It was good, but it was kind of tricky for me, so yeah. Resident Evil 2 remake was good, but it's kind of hard for me, you know. I haven't tried a Resident Evil 3 remake or even the 4, because the Resident Evil 4 remake just recently came out earlier this year, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, the 2000s were another thing that I really liked about life back then, you know. The music, the video games, just good times. So yeah, the wrestling as well was awesome back then. Had really great wrestling back then, like TNA, WWE, Ring of Honor was great in the 2000s as well. I mean, I don't know much about Ring of Honor like I do TNA/Impact Wrestling and WWE, but Ring of Honor, it's got some good wrestlers that were eventually gone to WWE or Impact, you know. So yeah, this is my favorite memories and all that of the 2000s and all that. So thank you, JackalGoldKick, for wanting to be in this collab with me, dude. I truly appreciate it, dude. It really means a lot to me talking about this topic with you, dude, because we're cool, man, and it's cool that we can share our great memories growing up before turning into an adult. So this was great stuff to talk about with you, Jackal. Having me on your channel is great to share these memories with you and then other people on YouTube as well. So yeah, thank you guys. God bless y'all. I'm the Flamehead97, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.